to this It's Learning webinar, and welcome, Morten, to joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is the first of It's Learning's spring series of webinars, and today we are talking about how we can empower teachers on how blended methods can cater to diverse learning needs. So, Morten Palvik, welcome, and thank you again for joining me.
Yeah.
You have a quite diverse background. A few words about yourself, please.
Yeah, I have a background from education from many aspects. I'm now working as a pedagogical expert in Sanoma in the team of primary education, curriculum learning. So I work with our colleagues to develop blended methods in any subject area. I work from Bergen, Norway, but work with people all over Europe.
And I forgot to say a few words about myself, but I'm working as a pedagogical advisor in It's Learning. I've been with It's Learning for a couple of years now, and I also work as a teacher in Bergen Municipality. And I will be hosting these webinars this spring, so I'm quite looking forward to this. So let's get started, Morten. We will talk about our agenda today, which is how we can understand the challenges a school leader are facing today, the benefit for teachers to use blended teaching strategies, and the importance of the influence from the leadership. And of course, we have time for questions in the end. So if you have any questions, then put them in the chat, please. So first of all, Morten, challenges a school leader are facing today. Those are quite a lot of them.
Yeah, there are many challenges, and there are high expectations to schools, and we should be happy about that people are concerned about the schools. But there are many opinions from many different stakeholders, or from parents, politicians, media, and more. And most people have an opinion about school because they've been in school themselves. And somebody said at the conference I attended recently that there's only one professional group that have more commentators and experts on the sideline than teachers.
Yeah.
Do you know which group this is?
No.
It's professional football players.
Yeah.
So that is both a good thing that people are concerned about schools, but also it creates a lot of noise and distractions. And into that, all kinds of problems in society are expected to be solved in the schools and by the teachers. So this put a lot of stress on them. We also see from international surveys that there are emerging or growing numbers of students that need special attention and special care. There's a drop in motivation all over the world. People are reporting about that. And there are many students with personal issues that also need some care and attention.
So to be able to reach out to all the diversity in a classroom or in a student group is quite important now, and even more important now than a couple of years back, you would say?
Yeah, I would say so, because of the expectations that people are concerned about their own child, for instance. So there are many voices that want to be heard in schools.
And now, again, I would say that schools are changing, or the educational environment are changing, because we are now, or has been for the last year, talking about a lot of AI. We will not have a lot of discussion about AI, but it still changes now, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that is it's a really game changer. That when artificial intelligence was available for everybody, a lot of things happened. And one of the reactions is that a lot of resistance against digital solutions in schools. A lot of talk about screen time and how to avoid stuff. And this addresses a huge need of continuous training for teachers. So that's also a big issue. So all of this put high pressure on the teachers. But with that, it also comes a high pressure on the school leaders and also the school owners.
Would you say that it's important to emphasize that a school leader needs to be supportive to teachers more than ever?
Yeah, I would say so, because there are so many pressures from many angles. Yeah.
Okay. And how can blended teaching and learning methods help in regards to these challenges that we're facing today?
Good question. And first, I will say a few words about what do we mean by blended methods. And in short, it is a teaching method or teaching material that consists of different types of things like printed material, physical objects or physical tools, and also digital teaching and learning material that can be used for instruction. It can be used by the students as a tool for dealing with different types of content. It could be tools for collaboration. And this could also be the physical space and physical objects that are used by teachers and students.
And I hope now that a lot of the viewers are thinking, oh, I already do a lot of this. Because it's been for a couple of years now that we've been talking about blended learning and blended methods. And do you think a lot of teachers already do this, combine those?
Yes, many teachers have been working blended for many, many years. And part of the discussions now, for instance, in Norway, when all these questions and worries about screen time, some people say that there has been an unconscious use of digital in schools. And this, of course, a lot of teachers are really offended by it. Because they have been thinking carefully about how to use digital tools and resources in combination with all other stuff.
And again, what you said earlier, the pressure for the teacher to actually be update on digital and everything else that's surrounding the classroom and outside the classroom as well.
Yeah, and I think what had been lacking perhaps is that we really need to answer some important questions about what do we want from the digital technologies. What do teachers want from them? Do we need them to make something more efficient? And at the same time, perhaps we need to do something less efficient, have more time to do different things. So that is also an aspect and a side effect of all the digitalization that, we really need to be careful about what we spend time on.
And that's very important that you touch upon that, because a couple of years back in Norway, we had a new curriculum. And one of the kind of main things that we were talking about before it gets started with the new curriculum is that to go into deep when it comes to curriculum and to learn the curriculum proper. And by using these methods that you are talking about, would you say that we actually emphasize that to go into the deep?
Some do, but then it really that's why these questions are so important. That what do we really want to emphasize and develop? And otherwise, we can actually end up with digitalizing the past, things that we actually want to get rid of. But now with technology, that can be more effective. But maybe it was not the things that we wanted to spend time on.
Yeah, interesting.
And one example here is exams. Many are talking about should we have exams or not, and especially now with artificial intelligence and generative AI, the question is about home exams and written assignments had reappeared. So I think it's a good time, good time to actually stop and think carefully about what do we really want and what should happen in education.
And also maybe say to school leaders, listen to your teachers and be able to have a discussion about it. And then again, for the government, maybe to listen to the school leaders because they know about the challenges. We also have to think about that. We already said it, but let's phrase it again, that a lot of teachers already does this. They use these methods and these learning strategies. But how can we move forward from this?
I think, the most important thing is to look into what you want from the technology. And I can give some practical examples and it goes back to the headline of this webinar, Empower Teachers. So then we have to look into what does that really mean, and empower teachers to do what.
It's kind of a posh word as well, isn't it? Empower the teachers.
Yeah.
But it's an important one.
It is an important one. And the teaching profession is quite complex, and teachers are perhaps one of the groups of people that take many decisions every day on the fly, and they have no time really to something you have to do it. You deal with humans.
Changes happen, and there's changes.
Yeah, and the plan you made may not work, so you have to be able to change quickly. You notice that, okay, the group of children I have in front of me today, what I plan to do is not working as I thought it would, so I have to do something else. So in that case, some practical examples of how to empower a teacher could be giving them tools so they can quickly access different teaching material, or have the plan B or plan C very quickly and easy available. There's a lot of logistics in teaching. I think many people forget that or don't know about it. A lot of things that have to be put in place at a very specific time. You cannot leave the group of students to get something else. So and this is a stressful thing for teachers. And we also know that if you lose the flow in the teaching, it's very hard to get back on track again. So that's one aspect of that. I would also say in this perspective of empowering teachers, that substitute teachers are also a big thing. Very often teachers are maybe have to be somewhere else. They can be sick, they have to attend a meeting or something like that, and somebody else have to step in and take over. And into that, and it's also very important to have good systems and things that make it easy for the substitute teachers to be a good substitute teacher. Yeah.
So all these things that we also have to think about is the logistic around the circumstances being a teacher and the classroom and everything that's going around in the everyday life of a teacher and a school leader, of course.
That's true. Another example is for good use of blended learning or technologies, that how can you support the transition between different learning activities from whole class instructions into this children are doing individual work or in group work. So the changes in learning activities also is a very important point where either things go very smooth or things stop and get
and
chaotic.
This is often very loose, the children or the pupils between these stages.
So having good structures that help everybody to understand what's going to happen next. That's the main point.
So think about all the stages and think about everything that can go wrong and everything that can go really good.
Yeah, and also say that to empower teachers, many teachers want to facilitate the social aspect of learning, to involve everybody. And we know that some students are shy or introvert and don't dare to raise their voice. So finding ways to get all the voices into class discussions is also an aspect here. And we have many good examples of how teachers are using digital tools to get everybody engaged and part of class discussions.
And then you also have the aspect of making a class environment safe.
Yeah.
That's important as well, to get all the voices in.
Yeah, and there are differences between classes. Either you are a teacher and you teach several classes, and one class can be very open-minded and accept a lot of different views and thoughts, while another group of students can be very, it's more tension.
Yeah, you have to work in a different way with them.
And then you need a toolbox of different ways of dealing with that. And then there are also subject-specific things that we can use blended method to empower the teachers. And for instance, teaching children to read is an important part of school. And we know that some parts of this process is quite demanding, both for the students but also for the teachers. And then
and probably also for the parents.
Yes. Yeah, they forgot, and we all, I think most of us forgot how challenging it was to learn how to read.
Yeah, because it's this thing that you're supposed to just get, but then it's quite hard.
Yeah, and our brain
is advanced process.
It is a very advanced process, and I just learned recently that our brain is not built to read. It's not something that comes natural to us. So we have to combine a lot of different things. For instance, the symbols, the letters, and what sound they represent, and this is a very complex process. And within a group of students, they can be at very different places. Some of them know how to read when they start in school, while others can barely write their name and they know a couple of letters. So using blended approaches can help teachers to better differentiate and give instruction and learning activities that make sense to all of the children.
Absolutely, and to reach out wider for the whole classroom.
Yes.
Okay. We also thought when we was talking about this webinar, Morten, that one of the things that we find very important to be able to emphasize in this webinar is to how the influence from the leadership and why is that important? And because it is important, but why is it important?
Leadership is always important because the role of the leader is to set the scene, so to speak, and actually it is the leaders that can empower the teachers to be teachers. So
because they can take away some of the noise.
Exactly. So first of all, the leaders have to identify which problem should we focus on, because there are so many things in schools that are important. And if we ask 1,000 people, we probably get 1,000 answers. So somebody has to say something is more important than others, and this is a leader job. But it has to be done with the teachers, and many also include the students in this work. The process to find out, okay, what should we focus on? What are the important problems, and come up with solutions for that.
And that's also important in regards to motivation for the students or the pupil to hear their voices.
Yeah, it is, and it's important part of motivation is to feel that you belong somewhere. And if you don't feel that you belong in school, why should you show up? Tomorrow.
True.
So, and you also mentioned this about reducing noise and distractions, and that's also a very important part for the leaders. And especially now when we have all these discussions about screen time, and many people, and with good reasons, are concerned that children and teenagers just spend too much time on screens. But then the school leaders have to come forward and say that what happens in the spare time or at night and at home, we cannot take that into consideration when we choose the methods and the tools in order to support learning. And this needs to be communicated to the parents. It needs to be communicated through media, to politicians, and many teachers and school leaders are good at this, and they can showcase good examples of how they work and how blended approaches support learning. But we need more of that.
And for the school leaders to be able to go through these changes and support the teachers, how would you say they could start to just do this? Do they need to have the government on their side as well? Do they need to talk with them? Do they?
Yes, of course. They have to address the what is the situation in schools and what are the challenging areas, of course. At the same time, there are many things in schools that school leaders and teachers cannot influence. So they have to make the best out of it.
Absolutely.
And I think in that process, it's also communication, saying that, okay, if the curriculum is too big, for instance, then they can say something about, well, we focus on these areas and we try to work best with those. And then I will also say that a good advice is to focus on the blend here, to see, okay, what works best with printed material, like such as books and writing with hands on papers and worksheets. What is a better option to do with the digital resources and tools?
Mathematics, for example, you can't understand money if you don't ever have had money in your hand, can you?
Yeah, well, I don't know. But of course, it is more tangible to have bills and coins instead of digital payment. But yeah, but there are many concepts that require different approaches. And yeah.
And you did mention communication. And just to draw some lines to my company and probably your company as well, that we talk a lot about communication, and it's important to have an open communication within the company, and so we know that what's going on. And I would say it's quite important to do that within the school environment as well, to have a communication across from the classroom to the home, to the teachers, to the school leaders, and even all the way up to the government, really. So we can have a communication of what's going on now in learning and in the learning environment.
Absolutely. And I've seen too many news things on TV where you have film from a classroom. A lot of children are working on iPads, for instance, and then the point is too much screen time, and they're not looking into what are they actually doing there.
Yeah.
And very often when children work with digital devices, they work together with a classmate. So they also have some conversations and discussions among them while they are solving a problem. And they get some instant feedback from the learning tools or exercise they're using.
Thanks for sharing, Morten.
Yeah.
Then 20 minutes travel fast. But we do have time for some questions. And one of the questions from the chat is, just give me 2 seconds. How can blended methods motivate students?
I think in many ways, but perhaps the most important part is that it is possible to have a wide range of material, so you can give the students some kind of choices into how to approach a problem or work with a concept. So choices, also giving them different ways of expressing their knowledge. Some students like to write something. Some other like to make a video or a slide presentation or something like that. So
what you're saying is that if we are meeting the needs of the students or the pupils, we are able to motivate them.
Most likely, hopefully, yeah.
Okay, thanks. How would you say blended learning supports develop reading skills? Because reading has been up in the air for a long time now with the latest PISA.
That's true, and we have had PISA surveys for more than 20 years, and still we are wondering about why is it the arrows pointing downwards. So yes, there are many opportunities in blended learning to develop reading skills. One of the obvious is taking away some stigma. A lot of children struggle with reading, and those who struggle most perhaps get some text-to-speech tools, which helps them. And in that, they sometimes feel very special or strange compared to the rest of the group. So I would say that if all children had access to text-to-speech tools, because everybody has moments where you don't understand what you read, and the usual way of solving that is to raise your hand and ask the teacher, I don't understand this, and then perhaps the teacher just read loud, and then you get, okay, now I get it. So having a digital tool that can do that for you will actually help the students to get past the obstacles and help themselves, which should also be a goal in education. Some students also know that they need to practice reading, but they don't like to read to somebody. So having there are many tools that allow students to read to the computer and get feedback on their pronunciation and their rhythm and how they do this. So yeah, I think there are many opportunities here, but it really needs to be put into context and be in line with what is the problem we are trying to solve here with this specific group of students.
And why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Answer the question why.
Exactly.
Thank you. I can't see any more question in the chat, so then I would just say thank you so much, Morten, again, for joining me on this. And if you have any questions or anything you would like us to make a webinar of, then just don't hesitate to send me an email. And we wish you a great Thursday. I had to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you.